Welcome to another video. My name's Jose Najarro, and today I'm going to talk about where I find my information and how I use that information to help me determine the value of a company. So let's get started. Like always, I'm going to have my buddies Darth Bear and Bull Solo just here to make me look pretty. But today they're not going to do anything, so it's just going to be an information video, and I'm not really going to keep track of a specific company. But like always, I'm going to keep these guys up here. All right, so a quick report on how the agenda is going to look of what I'm going to talk about. So these are the four things I use to help me determine how a company is doing. I first take a look at the 10Q report and the 10K report. I then take a look at earnings presentations. Then I take a look at earnings call transcripts. And then I take a look at news articles. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start doing more informative information of how I'm collecting this information, or just a more tutorial guide so people can understand how I'm using the information that I do. Later on, I'm going to do a video of how I use the balance sheet, how I use the income statement, and how I use cash flow statements and stuff like that, and just the different metrics that I use. I'll explain them a little more in detail. The full year is done, so this is from quarter 1 to quarter 4, and the company reports everything as a whole. So both of these are pretty good information, because the 10Q report, right, you get to see every quarter just to see how the company is doing every quarter, and the 10K report gives you the overall layout of how the company is doing for the whole year. And one thing to know is the 10K is a little more. You need to post a lot more information in the 10K report than in the 10Q report. So in the 10K report, you can find a lot more information that you might not find in the 10Q report. So that's why it's important to always check, even though you checked out quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4 in the 10Q report, I would recommend always looking at the 10K report as well, because there are some informations that don't have to be posted in the 10Q report, but do need to be posted in the 10K report. And the easiest way to find these documents is the sec.gov website, which is the United States Security and Exchange Commission. And I took a quick screenshot of the website, and here you can see on the top right, it says search the website, and here you put the company's name that you're looking for, and then they'll give you all the financial documents of this company. They'll give you the 10K report, the 10Q report. Then you might see other stuff like 8K, I believe, the 4K, and all these are other ones that I might talk about in later on videos. So now that we know where to find the 10Q report and the 10K report, I just want to show you guys the type of information that we can find in here and how I use it. So the 10Q report and the 10K report to me are the living documents of the company, right? These are the factual documents, and this is what I truly follow when I take a look at a company. In the 10Q and the 10K report, you can find all the financial documents. So you can find the income statement, you're going to find the balance sheet, and you're going to find the cash flow statement. So all these tell you how the company is doing with their debt, with how much money they're collecting, with how the money is moving. So I use it for that, right? So for the basic financial documents are one of the reasons I use it. The next thing I use it is in the 10Q and the 10K report. Not only do they tell you how much debt the company has, but they usually always break it down on how long this debt is for, how many different loans do they have, when do they need to pay it back, what kind of interest do they have, how much have they paid back, and is there any, and they also post any information based on that debt. So for example, if I take a look at a company, I want to make sure that a huge amount of portion of the debt is not due anytime soon. So that's one of the good things to take a look at in the 10Q and 10K report. Next, in the 10Q report, you're also able to find any legal matters that are going on within the company. So here in the legal matters, if the company is being sued, if the company is going to collect some money from it suing some other company. So here is a place to find this. The next type of information I usually find is shareholder returns. Is this company buying back any shares? Is the company paying any dividends? Revenue breakdown. It also gives you revenue breakdown. If a company has different products, it breaks it down by the products on how revenue is collected and how it's been doing compared to previous quarters. It also gives you per region. So if this company is an international company, it lets you know how a company is doing within each region. If a company has an online store and a brick and mortar store, it helps you. It breaks down revenue in all different types of materials that you can understand how the company is doing overall. The 10Q report and the 10K report also have one of my favorite things is it lets you know if a company has a customer that's worth 10% or more of the company's total revenue, right? For example, me, I would not want to invest in a company that only has two customers that make up about 80% of the total revenue. Let's say there's two customers that are both 40% of the revenue. That means that if one of those customers finds a different supplier, then the company will go down dramatically, 40%, right? So that's those things like this are what you can find in the 10Q report and in the 10K report. Another thing is you can find agreements if a company has an agreement with the supplier. For example, if you're a soda company and you want to buy, as a soda company, you need aluminum cans. So you have a deal with some aluminum can company that you need to buy X amount of cans per year. And if you don't meet this necessity, if you don't buy these many cans, they will charge you a fee of X amount of value. So this helps you determine like how much expense this company is going to have for the rest of the year, or the minimum expense this company is going to have for the rest of the year. You're going to find leases. So if the company has real estate, and it leases that real estate, it'll tell you the price of the minimum payment that this company has to do. So, right, you can find so much of the financial numbers here in the 10Q and the 10K report. And the most important thing is they let you know these are numbers. So that's why I like it. These are numbers, and I know these numbers need to add up. And if I see that things don't add up, then I know things are going fishy. But numbers are easier to see a lie in numbers than it is to see in a person. Next, we're going to take a look at earnings presentation. So this is the second information that I take a look at. So earnings presentation, when a company does its quarterly reports, usually they do an earnings call and they present some information, and they also talk about other items in the earnings call. So the earnings presentations are usually in the form of a PDF file. It could be a PowerPoint presentation. It could be just a quick PDF file. It could be a Microsoft, it could be a text document, it could be any type of way that this company is presenting the information to you. And here you can find this in the investors relationship website of the company. So for example, if you want to take a look at Apple's presentations, you would put Apple's investors relationship, and they'll give you the link to their website, and you would find the presentations there. Here right now I have Micron. Micron was just the last company I did. So that's why I have these are the most recent ones that they presented in their slides. So what do I like to look at when I look at earnings presentation? So in the earnings presentation, it helps me see one important thing: how leadership is presenting this information. So all this information that's being presented in the presentation, I already know because I took a read of the 10Q report and the 10K report. So I already read this information. But it helped me see how leadership itself is presenting this information. Are they showing the numbers in a way that makes, right? You can, even if you don't show numbers, even if you don't change numbers, you can present numbers in different ways where it might look better than they really do. Next, we're going to take a look at earnings transcript. So earnings transcript, like I mentioned, a company usually does earnings call during the thing where they talk to investors, and investors ask questions about the company's overall, about what the company, questions that they have about the company. So earnings transcript, one thing to know is a company is not required to do an earnings call, but most companies do. Except the first company I actually found out was, I think a few episodes ago, I did a company on Fizz, a beverage company. They actually don't do an earnings call. I was looking for the earnings transcript and I couldn't find it. And again, here I take a look at the same thing I'm taking a look previously in the earnings presentation. I want to see two things: how leadership is presenting their information to the investors during the call. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is at the end after they present, they take questions. And these questions are usually by big banks. And some of these questions I like to read. This is the most important to me. I like to read the questions and see how leadership responds. Again, it gives me a way of how leadership believes the company is doing, how they are leading the company. And at the same time, all these big banks are actually asking pretty smart questions. So it's definitely good to take a look at that and see what kind of questions they're asking and try to understand how the company is responding. An earnings transcript, I usually find them in this great website, Seeking Alpha website. The final thing I'm going to take a look at is news articles. And here I just go to Google and I go to Google and I just put, let's say if I was looking at MU, I would put MU stock, and I will read any of the company's news report. And here I'm not using the news article for any factual data, because I'm pretty sure there are people that want the company to go a certain way, so they have their own bias to the company. But I use it to maybe try to find something that I might have missed. So let's say I read an article that said, "Hey, this company is doing bad. You should sell because the company this has this buyback program where they're buying $10 billion worth of shares." But in reality, this buyback program just keeps being reinstalled, and for the past 15 years, this company has not bought back any shares. And I might have missed that in the 10Q report or in the 10K report. So I would not take that article to heart, but I would fact check it. I would then go to the 10Q report where I'm like, yeah, I do remember seeing that this company is buying a huge amount of shares. And then I would take a look and see when was the last time they actually bought back shares and all this information. So yeah, those are all the things I look at. The 10Q report and the 10K report are usually the ones I spend most of the time at. And the earnings presentation, the earnings calls are also pretty up there. And news articles. So these are the four things I take a look at, and I think they truly help me understand how a company is doing. So let me know which one, if you guys use any of these, or if you guys use all of these, which one are your favorite? Which ones do you not use? Which ones do you use? And make sure to keep following this. I'm definitely going to talk more about the way I collect this information. I think in the next one, I'm going to take a look at the income statement and just talk about some of the things I look at in the income statement. So take care, guys. Have a good night and see you next time.